Allô, Nissan? Hey, grosse tempête, hein?
Hey, Karine, oui, je sais, les vilains bonhommes de neige sont de retour.
Mais avec le Nissan Rogue à traction intégrale, c'est pas stressant.
Exact, il est conçu et testé pour nos hivers. Oh, Karine, il y a un bonhomme dans le Rogue.
Ah, c'est correct. J'ai allumé les sièges chauffants.
Ah, bien joué, Karine. Maîtrisez toutes les conditions. Louez le Rogue S 2026 à partir de 0,4% jusqu'à 36 mois, incluant une réduction fidélité de 0,5% pour les clients Nissan admissibles. Jusqu'au 2 mars, sur approbation de crédit, les conditions s'appliquent. Détails chez Nissan.
Interesting week for tour guides in the city. After a La Presse expose on tour guides operating in Montreal without appropriate permits, City announced that they're going to crack down on the practice. Many say without proper qualifications, non-authorized tour guides can lead to information. You know, we talked about this briefly on the Big Five at 9:05, one of these mornings this week. And, I made a joke. I made a joke about how I've been on these tours and I don't really absorb much of the information, and how I could have a tour guide and say, yeah, look at the Champlain Bridge, named after Jim Champlain. He invented the poutine. And I don't know if I'd care that much. I made a little crack. It was a little joke. And our next guest was listening. And our next guest is a licensed Montreal tourist guide member. And our next guest wasn't happy about it. They sent us an email. And when I got this email from Françoise Baby, I said, Françoise, come on our program. I want to hear just what you need to do to become an accredited tour guide in this city. And she's on the line. Françoise, thank you for reaching out, and thank you for accepting our invitation.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation, Elias.
Françoise, tell me about yourself. Tell me about what type of tours you do.
Oh, I do all kinds, but I would say that most guides will do tours that really appeal to them. That's the beauty of our profession. We're all self-employed, so I don't go out there and talk about coffee and architecture because I don't like coffee. But I do love history and street art and architecture, so my tours are generally built around that. And I also love food, so I do offer food tours as well.
What type of accreditation measures do you have to go through? Like, how long does it take? What are the steps to become a licensed tour guide?
The first step is you have to register for a course offered by the ITHQ, Institut de Tourisme et d'Hôtellerie du Québec, so it's the Tourism and Hotel Management Institute. It's a 240-hour course, so it takes about 7 months because most of the courses are given at night and many Saturdays. If you pass the course, you get a permit from the City of Montreal, but you can't get that permit unless you actually take that course. And it's quite thorough, and I really enjoyed it because I realized how much I didn't know about Montreal.
So what do you think are the ramifications? What are the issues created if we have people giving tours that haven't gone through the steps that you had to go through?
Well, first of all, it's a bit of a slap in the face for those of us who spent those 7 months taking the course and spending thousands of dollars on it. So I think that right there, it's like a little bit offensive. What happens also is that some foreign tour operators who offer tours here but do not have to pay for the two taxes, the provincial sales tax and the federal sales tax, the GST, and they don't pay their unlicensed guides that well, they can take advantage of the fact that the regulations, because our profession is regulated, they'll take advantage of that and sometimes do things that maybe residents in Montreal wouldn't appreciate. And so they can bring their prices down, whilst a local tour operator can't afford to bring their prices that far down because they're paying the two sales taxes, they're paying a decent wage to the tourist guides, and they have to pay income tax here. Mm-hmm. So it's really unfair competition, and that's one of the reasons that the regulations exist and why tour guides would really appreciate if they were applied, if they were enforced.
So, Françoise, you on those two arguments, you have me on the argument of fairness, right? It isn't fair if you've done these things and other people are getting away with not doing those same training measures, and it's not fair if you've got to pay taxes and foreign operators don't have to pay taxes. And so you have my attention at that. But let me just, I'm looking at this from another perspective. I took it when I was in Los Angeles once. I took a tour, and it was the OJ tour, right? OJ Simpson trial tour.
Right.
And it was a guy and he had a white Ford Bronco. He had a 94 Ford Bronco, and I found him online. I checked out his reviews. So many people said this was a great tour. It was such an experience. I show up. It's a guy. He's a wannabe actor who does this on the side. And in LA, he doesn't need a permit or anything like that. Get in the white Ford Bronco. We go around LA. It was such a terrific tour. And to me, the mechanism was the reviews online, right? I checked that out. I went with that. And now, there was a time where we didn't have that ability to go check someone out. And I just feel like, and I get your point about the unfairness here, but maybe in the future, what should qualify you is what people say about your work. Long term, do you see a pathway where maybe you don't need to have a permit to be a tour guide?
Well, there are actually tour guides that are actors as well, and school teachers and what have you. So if they want to offer that kind of product, that's a little bit different than what we offer as licensed tour guides, because we're trained to talk about things that are usually most in demand, which are the history of Montreal, politics, the economy, Jewish heritage, the Italian community, and so on and so forth. So we're very well trained in many different fields, and we don't offer just that one specialty tour that you were on in the Ford Bronco.
Françoise, have you been doing one of your tours, and have you seen it right in front of you, someone that's clearly unlicensed, someone who shouldn't be doing this kind of thing, that's taking people, taking people's money for these unlicensed tours?
Yes, I have.
What do you think when you see that happen in front of you?
It does ruffle my feathers, and I sometimes very quietly to speak to one of the participants and tell them, I hope you realize that your guide is not licensed. Just to let them know that there is such a thing, and that perhaps they'll think about it for next time. Because, yes, sometimes they will tell tall tales that make absolutely no sense at all. And I think that doesn't... I know you can't paint everybody with the same brush, but it doesn't look very good for licensed guides. It doesn't look good for Montreal, and doesn't look good for the tourism industry here if a visitor knows that in another city or another country, they'll get a high-quality guide.
Françoise, listen, you've been so kind. By the way, the reason you're on this show is because the email you sent me was so well written. I said, we got to get Françoise on the program. Can we get a plug-in for you? If someone's listening and wants to take a tour with you, one of your various tours, how can I find you?
You can find me on my website, very easy. It's Françoise Baby, which is spelled like baby, tour guide. FrancoiseBabyTourguide.com.
Wonderful.
.ca.
.ca, okay.
FrancoiseBaby.tourguide.ca.
FrancoiseBabyTourguide.ca. Baby is spelled B-A-B-Y like baby. Françoise, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Elias, for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
That's Françoise Baby, a licensed Montreal tour guide.